Welcome, everyone. Join me on a journey back through time, not to the earliest dawn of life, but to the final chapter of a dynasty. At the twilight of the Cretaceous period, around 66 million years ago, Earth was no longer the chaotic playground of primitive experiments. After more than 160 million years of dominance, nature had become a master craftsman and a ruthless one. In that final chapter, one entity emerged to challenge every convention of physical form: T-Rex. It moved like a god of war, carrying jaws capable of crushing history itself, yet possessed arms so absurdly small they invited ridicule. But don't be fooled. In the merciless forge of the Hell Creek Formation, nature never wastes anything. Those arms were not remnants of a forgotten past. They were the price of power. To possess the skull of a monster, it had to surrender the arms of a lesser creature. Today, we won't simply study a skeleton. We will decode the greatest trade-off in the history of evolution. When you stand before the skeleton of T-Rex, what you see is not merely fossilized bone, it is the embodiment of science's own humility. For an entire century following its discovery in 1902, humanity observed it through the lens of arrogance. Do you remember the old illustrations? T-Rex was once depicted as a lumbering giant dragging its tail and standing upright like an oversized kangaroo. Its arms were mocked as useless vestiges, evolutionary leftovers with no purpose. That was the mistake of projecting modern anatomical assumptions onto a creature that was born to defy every standard. But CT scanning technologies and biomechanical analysis from 2024 have forced us to reconsider everything. The first and most startling revelation lies in its skeletal pneumatization. T-Rex did not possess the dense, heavy bones of modern elephants or rhinoceroses. Instead, it had a sophisticated hollow architecture filled with interconnected air sacs running throughout the spine and skull. The latest scientific data from the specimen known as Sue reveals that these pneumatic cavities occupied 30 to 60% of the volume in certain critical vertebrae. Biologically, this did more than reduce body mass from an estimated 11 tons down to roughly 9 tons without sacrificing structural strength. It also transformed T-Rex into a massive biological heat dissipation engine. This air sac system cooled both the brain and musculature during intense exertion beneath the scorching Cretaceous sun, a survival advantage no contemporary predator could match. From that lightweight skeletal framework, nature engineered what we might call a counterbalance of death. Evidence from fossilized trackways and 2024 biomechanical modeling has permanently dismantled the image of a tail-dragging dinosaur. In reality, its tail was rigid, densely muscled, and extended horizontally behind the body to serve as a perfect counterweight to the massive head. With its center of gravity positioned close to the hip joint, T-Rex was not slow. It was capable of exceptional rotational agility. Emerging research suggests it could rotate its entire body 45 degrees in under 1 second, powered by the enormous M. caudifemoralis muscle bundle attached directly to the femur. Do you see the elegance in all of this? Every vertebra, every microscopic depression on the surface of each fossil was no accident. They are testimony to a biological machine refined to breathtaking precision in pursuit of maximum predatory efficiency. We once laughed at those small arms, but in truth, we were the blind ones failing to recognize that in the unforgiving game of survival, T-Rex did not need long arms to embrace the world. It needed an optimal architecture to crush it entirely. Now, let us step into the heart of a debate that has raged for more than a century. Arms barely 3 feet long on a body stretching 40 feet. Many have dismissed this as nature's cruel joke. But evolution is neither lazy nor careless. Every millimeter of T-Rex's body had to answer to a ruthless equation of biological economics. In the natural world, nothing is free. Every advantage must be paid for with an equivalent trade-off somewhere else. Imagine T-Rex's body as an enormous seesaw with the hip joint as the only fulcrum. On one end sits the multi-ton skull. On the other, a muscular tail extending outward as a counterweight. To generate a bite force of up to 12,800 pounds, enough to exert pressure equivalent to placing a city bus on your fingertip, T-Rex required enormous jaw muscles, including the adductor mandibuli. These muscle groups demanded massive attachment surfaces across the skull, transforming it into a dense, heavy structure of staggering proportions compared to any predator that has ever existed. If you were nature's architect, the only solution to prevent this animal from perpetually pitching forward was to perform a ruthless act of budget cutting on the forelimbs. Shortening the arms did not merely help balance the body's center of gravity, it dramatically reduced the moment of inertia. In physics, when mass is concentrated closer to the central axis, an object becomes far easier to rotate. By miniaturizing those arms, T-Rex could swing its entire 9-ton body with startling speed, snapping its lethal jaws into position faster than any rival. Stripping the arms of their length was in effect the gift of a war god's turning speed. Yet the story does not end with gravitational mechanics. A groundbreaking hypothesis from Professor Kevin Padian of UC Berkeley, reinforced by behavioral studies in 2024, proposes something even more striking. Those shortened arms may have evolved to protect the animal from its own kind. The latest fossil evidence from mass death sites reveals that T-Rex was not a solitary hunter. These animals regularly converged on carcasses in what can only be described as violent, frenzied communal feeding events. Picture a terrifying scene: 10 T-Rex individuals simultaneously tearing into an Edmontosaurus carcass. In the frenzied chaos of blood and flesh, those bone-crushing jaws snap wildly at the prey as each animal fights for the choicest portion. With long, outstretched arms flailing in the carnage, the probability of having a limb accidentally severed by a neighbor's 8-inch teeth would be dangerously high. Short arms, however, tuck safely against the rib cage, well outside the reach of surrounding jaws. This was the ultimate adaptation for surviving a brutally competitive social environment, not a weakness, but a biological shield. The convergence of biomechanical necessity and the pressure to avoid injury within the group forced evolution to pare away every superfluous element. T-Rex teaches us that in the natural world, what appears to be a deficiency is sometimes the pinnacle of specialization. It accepted the mockery of small arms in exchange for an absolute concentration of power toward a single uncompromising purpose: to become the undisputed ruler of the Cretaceous. Have you ever heard someone mock the arms of T-Rex as a laughable design flaw? If so, tell them they are making a grave mistake, confusing small with weak. In the world of the Tyrant King, compactness was not a sign of regression. It was the result of compressing extraordinary mechanical force into the smallest possible space. When paleontologists analyzed bone density and muscle attachment scars on legendary specimens like Sue and Scotty, they uncovered a truth that left biomechanical researchers astonished. Each arm of T-Rex, barely 3 feet in length, possessed enough muscular strength to lift between 440 and 550 pounds. To put that in perspective, an Olympic weightlifter dedicates an entire career to pressing that kind of load with both arms combined. Yet for T-Rex, it was a casual flex of miniature limbs, whose bicep muscles were estimated to be 3.5 times more powerful than those of any primate of equivalent limb size. So why did nature preserve such extraordinary muscular power in a structure so long dismissed as useless? The answer lies in the nature of life-or-death combat in the Cretaceous, where these arms functioned as iron hooks in close quarters, grappling confrontations. The latest dynamic simulation studies from 2025 indicate that when T-Rex engaged armored adversaries such as Triceratops or Ankylosaurus, it did not use its arms to slash or rake it, used them to anchor and control. At close range, before the jaws could locate a killing angle, those arms would drive two razor-sharp claws, each exceeding 4 inches in length, deep into the thick hide of the target. This was not meaningless scratching. It functioned precisely like the clinch technique of a Muay Thai fighter, locking the opponent in place to neutralize any attempt to rotate and counter with horn or tail while holding the prey at the ideal angle for the jaws to deliver the finishing strike. But the utility of these arms may have extended beyond killing. Emerging hypotheses from 2024 suggest that during the violent mating rituals of the tyrant lizard, these short but enormously strong arms allowed males to grip females, securely maintaining position throughout a process that posed extreme balance challenges for multi-ton animals. Furthermore, the architecture of the humerus indicates it was built to withstand intense compressive forces from multiple directions, lending weight to the theory that T-Rex used its arms to assist in rising from a recumbent position, a seemingly simple act that presents a formidable physical challenge when a body's center of gravity is so heavily shifted forward. From helping the animal rise to securing a mate to immobilizing prey in a life-or-death struggle, the arms of T-Rex stand as the most powerful testament to a single philosophy in a system engineered for death. The smallest component is sometimes the one that keeps the entire machine from collapsing. Now, I want you to step away from the biomechanical data for a moment and look at a painful reality. The Earth's diary is being torn apart and sold to the highest bidders. Since the skeleton of Stan was auctioned for a record-breaking $31.8 million in 2020, a dangerous precedent has taken hold. Fossils are no longer objects of scientific inquiry, they have become trophy assets and luxury decor. Today, an estimated 70% of significant T-Rex specimens reside in private collections. Every time a skeleton passes into the hands of an anonymous billionaire, it effectively dies a second death for science. Why is this a catastrophe? Because science is not a fixed body of truth, it is a continuous process of self-correction. A T-Rex specimen examined in the 1990s with the naked eye yields entirely different results when studied in 2026 with advanced technology. Consider the recent discovery of medullary bone, a calcium-rich tissue found exclusively in females during reproductive cycles. This is the golden key to determining the sex of dinosaurs, a mystery that completely eluded us just 2 decades ago. If the skeletons carrying this biological code are sitting in a mansion in Dubai or a penthouse in Manhattan, scientists will permanently lose the opportunity to re-examine and update our understanding. Beyond that, the privatization of fossils destroys the systematic integrity of scientific data. Science requires the study of dozens of individuals to understand genetic variation, disease, and developmental patterns across a species. A specimen imprisoned in a private living room is an unfillable gap in our comprehensive picture of life on Earth. It also fuels a ruthless black market, where poachers willingly use explosives to blast through ancient geological strata just to extract the commercially valuable bones, obliterating every trace of irreplaceable stratigraphic context in the process. Transforming natural heritage into luxury commodities is an act of theft against the past. We are turning the only surviving witnesses to our planet's history into soulless, decorative objects, while simultaneously stripping millions of children around the world of their right to wonder and to learn. When money outranks knowledge, we do not merely lose a skeleton. We sever the thread connecting us to the deepest origins of our own existence. When you look at the arms of T-Rex, do you see nature's cruel joke, or a masterclass in radical focus? T-Rex teaches us that perfection does not mean possessing everything. To stand at the absolute apex of the food chain, it accepted carrying the smallest arms of any predator its size. That was not a design flaw. It was the price of extreme specialization. In our own lives, we often stretch our arms wider and wider, trying to hold on to everything at once until we exhaust ourselves and lose all definition. T-Rex made a different choice. It shed every excess, embraced its limitation, and in doing so, gained jaws that nothing could rival. Do you have the courage to let go of what is superfluous and concentrate everything you have on your single truest strength? This journey has not been about a species that perished. It has been about the profound sense of wonder that nature's creativity demands from us. From the abyssal depths of the Mariana Trench to the red earth of Hell Creek, life has always found its way through the most audacious forms imaginable. T-Rex proves that the pinnacle of evolution does not always lie in harmony. Sometimes it lies in a bold and deliberate sacrifice. To honor the past is to protect humanity's right to remain curious. History is not behind us. It lies beneath our feet, waiting to be told. Join me as we continue excavating the truths still buried in the dark. Until our next discovery.